Hi everyone, my name is Paul and welcome to the DocIT channel. In this video I'm going to talk about Kafka Consumer. And today we're going to discuss such topics as consumer group, commits and offsets, consumer groups and partitional rebalance, and we're going to talk a little bit about fault tolerance. To understand how to read data from Kafka, you first have to understand how works consumers and consumer groups. So just imagine that you have an application that needs to read messages from a Kafka topic. Then run some validation against them and write the results to another data store. In this case, your application will create a customer object, then subscribes to a topic and start receiving messages, validate them and write into the results. This worked well for a while, but what if the rate of which producers write messages to the topic exceeds the rate at which your application can validate them? For example, there are 2000 new messages per second goes to the topic, but our consumer can read and validate only 500 messages per second. If you are limited to a single customer reading and processing the data, your application will fall farther and farther behind, unable to keep up with the rate of the incoming messages. Obviously, there is need to scale compaction from topics. Just like multiple producers can write to the same topic, we need to allow multiple consumers to read from the same topic, splitting the data between them. Now, except of the one consumer, let's create a consumer group and add a new consumer, and let's call it consumer number 2. As you can see on the picture, consumer 1 reads the messages from the partition number 0 and number 1, and consumer 2 reads the messages from partition number 2 and 3. Consumer group is quite clever. As you can see, there is working a load balance. It means that it's not possible that one of consumer groups consumers will have 3 partitions and another one have just 1. By the way, I prepared a list of really good books about Kafka. You can find it just below this video. The best way to configure consumer groups is to give one consumer to give one partition. So it means to each partition just one consumer. In our case, as you can see, there are 4 consumers and 4 partitions. What do you think? What's gonna be if we add a new consumer there? So, if we add a new consumer number 5, this consumer will be without partition, and it means that he is out of work, and he doesn't work at all. When we add a new consumer to the group, it starts consuming messages from partition previously consumed by another consumer. The same thing happened when a consumer shuts down or crashes. It leaves the group and partitions it used to consume will be consumed by one of the remaining consumers. Reassignments of partition to consumers also happened when the topics to consumer groups is consuming are modified. Moving partitions ownership from one consumer to another, it's called a rebalance. So now I'm going to show an example of how our consumers read messages from the partitions. As you can see on the picture, there are 3 partitions. Partition number 0, 1 and 2, and 2 consumers. In this consumer group, there are just 2 consumers. It means that one consumer will have 1 partition and another one consumer will have 2 partitions. So consumer number 1 starts to read from the messages from the partition number 0. After consumer number 1 successfully read the message, he committed that, yeah, hey partition, I already read this message and everything is alright. In the parallel of the consumer 1, consumer 2 reads the messages from the partition 1 and partition 2. From those 2 partitions, consumer number 2 reads in parallel. So imagine that consumer number 1, while he's reading offset number 2, failed. So what's going on there? Kafka will start to balance our partitions. So right now our consumer number 2 will have all those 3 partitions and start to read messages where consumer 1 stopped. He could understand it from where the last message have been committed. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video till the end. Please click like and subscribe to this channel. For you just a few seconds, but for me it's a really good motivation to continue create such videos like this.